Hey everybody, Jay Super Awesome here. I'd like to welcome you all to episode number 1 of my Slasher Movie Archives. In this video, I will be giving my review for Terror Train. And considering that this is the very first episode, I thought I would explain why I chose to talk about Terror Train. Over the course of the past couple of years of reviewing slasher movies, I realize a lot of the movies I chose to talk about, a lot of people haven't seen or even heard of, and that's something I'm still going to continue. I will still continue to talk about obscure and lesser known slasher movies, but I will also be reviewing some of the more common or popular slasher movies from time to time, just to try to establish some common ground and to put my thoughts out there on some of the classics. But the main reason I chose to talk about Terror Train is because it's a slasher movie that takes place at New Year's Eve. I thought this was the perfect movie to start off not only a new year with, but my new series. In this video, I will be showing each and every edition I have of Terror Train in my collection. So let's go ahead and get into the plot for this one. It's New Year's Eve, and a group of college co-eds have planned a masquerade bash aboard a chartered train. What they didn't plan was that a knife-wielding psycho would crash the party and begin slaughtering the guests one by one. Who is this brutal costumed killer? Could it be the mysterious magician with a talent for swordplay, a former frat pledge with an axe to grind, or any number of other guests, both invited and uninvited? Climb aboard the Terror Train for a frightening combination of blood-curdling horror and intriguing mystery. Terror Train is and always will be one of my favorite slasher movies from the 1980s, even though I do have a few minor issues with it. Terror Train is one of those slasher movies I remember discovering at a very early age when I was first discovering slasher movies, and the fact that it takes place on a train has always made it a standout. It's a very unique setting for a slasher movie, and I'm very surprised its concept hasn't been done a lot more at this point. Of course, there has been others, and I'm not exactly saying that Terror Train was the first or the last slasher movie to take place on a train, but it's most definitely a standout. Also, the fact that this movie takes place on New Year's Eve is a huge plus. It creates a cold weather setting, and I really enjoyed seeing the train zip down the tracks and seeing all the snow and the ice as the train passes by. It was really awesome to see, and it creates some fantastic atmosphere along with all the different lighting and the colors used aboard the train in each different train car. The fact that they were able to get Jamie Lee Curtis, who was red hot in horror movies at this time, was an absolute home run. With this movie, they wanted to make Halloween on a train, and by getting Jamie Lee Curtis, they instantly brought over the fan base from John Carpenter's Halloween. Now, the setup for the storyline for this one is very simple and standard slasher movie stuff. You have a freshman college party where a fraternity prank goes horribly wrong, and that sets up a potential revenge storyline years later on when the same group of college friends, who at this point are approaching graduation, they decide to throw one last party aboard a train. This particular party just so happens to be a masquerade party, which sets up a lot of different possibilities for the killer. And it's also where the movie's tagline comes into play. Terror wears many disguises, all of them deadly. I also thought it was fun seeing all the different and creative costumes that the characters wore. And I did say potential revenge storyline because they try to set up some misdirection on who's actually doing the killings. But overall, I thought Terror Train was a fun and entertaining classic slasher movie. I have already mentioned that Jamie Lee Curtis is in this movie, and she plays as Elena, who is the main character in this movie's storyline. Now, this time around, her character is not quite as innocent as other characters she has played before in other horror films. Elena, along with her other college friends, such as Mo, Mitch, Doc, Jackson, and Ed, they're all directly responsible for the prank that goes horribly wrong on Kenny at the beginning of the movie. Elena has helped her friends lure Kenny into the bedroom where they have a big surprise waiting for him. I I really like this opening sequence of the movie, even though the climax of the scene where Kenny stands up on the bed and tangles himself up into the bed curtains is pretty silly. I also have to mention that David Copperfield is in this movie, and still to this day, I find the fact that he's in this movie to be very odd, but it does make sense seeing how he was hired to be the entertainment aboard the train. There's several different characters in this movie who try their hand at magic tricks, but obviously David Copperfield is the star attraction. Overall, I highly enjoyed the characters in this movie, and I thought the acting was spot on. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the most important part of a slasher movie, that is the killer and the kills. And I absolutely love the setup for the killer in this movie. The killer is smart and methodical in how they stalk and murder their victims. So the killer is very smart, and the killer is perfectly set up not only based off the prank at the beginning of the movie, but also considering there's a magic show that is a big focus aboard the train. It's quite magical how the killer is able to move around and change from one costume to another, and at other times hide in plain sight. It's a very creative setup for the killer in my opinion. And if I had to pick a favorite costume that the killer wears in this movie, I'm going to have to go with the reptilian costume. It was really cool, but I do really like all three, and I like how it keeps things mixed up. As far as the kills go in this movie, it has a decent body count. I would say somewhere around 7 or 8 kills. But unfortunately, this movie has a lot of off-screen kills. One person gets their head smashed into the bathroom mirror, but a lot of times the killer will be about to murder somebody, and then the movie will cut away before we actually get to see the impact of the kill, leaving us to see the aftermath later on when the bodies are being discovered. A lot of the kills are set up nicely with suspense and build-up, but unfortunately most of the time the movie cuts away, so we don't get to see a lot of the fun stuff, and that's very unfortunate. One thing that I wanted to mention is that on the back of the DVD, you can clearly see that there is a sign that says Happy Halloween, and that's actually very misleading and isn't even in the movie. The sign in the movie actually says Happy New Year's, which makes sense considering that's when this movie takes place. Just something that I wanted to point out, but overall, Terror Train is a highly enjoyable slasher movie. I'm going to recommend it based off its New Year's theme, its train setting, and the decent amount of suspense and mystery the movie sets up surrounding the killer. IMDb gives Terror Train a 5.9 out of 10. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. So please like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know if you have seen Terror Train, or just let me know what you think about my review. And as always, I would like to thank you all for watching.